podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to the first post-conference presser for 2024. So, morning where I am, ladies and gents. So it's your normal host, Dave Davis, running through with you through the normal things, get the words out there, that I should say. So we're looking at the Q&As from Jurgen Klopp's press conference, an early one again, ahead of the Arsenal FA Cup third round away tie. Couldn't get much more difficult than that, could you? We'll also talk through any injury updates as normal. Clues from Newcastle. What a hell of a game that was, people. We'll look at formation and lineup. We'll talk about Arsenal and the threats they offer, which will have a bit of a deja vu because we did this in the league not too long ago. So I won't spend too long on that one. And you will get my predicted formation, lineup, score, and scorer. Where I won't be able to pick Mo Salah, will I, in that regard? So it will be interesting to see. So let's get into it, people. Jurgen Klopp's press conference, and where else would it start but the injury to Dominic Szoboszlai and an update on that. Natural that was the first question that was asked. So he was asked, is it a potential injury? He said, yeah, confirm it's not potential, it is an injury. It's his hamstring, as we knew, so we have to see. There's no chance for Sunday or for Fulham. Then we will see after that. Hopefully he may be back, but we don't know. Besides that, there's nothing else that really happens. Now, there's a couple of things on this, because I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, at least it's just those two games and he's back. That is not what Jurgen said. We're hopeful. And I understand why he's hopeful, because after that midweek game against Fulham, there's a fair bit of the gap, potentially. Now, that depends as long as there's A, no replay against Arsenal, and B, the injury heals. That's not what he said. He'll be back after then. He said, hopefully. So we know how these injury updates can sometimes go, but I'm just urging a bit of a note of caution. It's hopeful that that's the case, but at the same time, he's played a lot. Big Dom, hasn't he? He's run a lot. He's been off form, and maybe this, it's used to that English schedule. Let's put it that way. So let's just be hopeful on that, especially with the month that we have ahead. There's a gap, but it may be a replay. So, yeah, fingers crossed with that one. He was also asked about any parting words for Salah and Endo with them heading off to the relevant cups, the AFCON, the Pacific Nations. Bit of a smile. I like this one. He said, if I said I wish you good luck, it would be a lie. From a personal point of view, I'd be very happy if they went out in the group stage, but it's a good luck. See you and come back healthy. Those were the words that I said. Yeah, I get it. It probably expresses his real sentiment there, but in a good way. It may be best to explain that. I think you've just got to expect the worst in the sense of you hope, obviously, no injuries. That's the biggest thing, no doubt about that. But Japan are regular winners of the Pacific Cup, if you look at that. They're the favourites along with Korea and, Son. But you expect them to get through. Egypt, last time, obviously, it was Mane versus Salah, wasn't it, in the final when it was Senegal versus Egypt. So if Salah stays even remotely on the form he's on, unfortunately, we have to expect they're not going to be back until Feb time because their teams will be all the way to the final. So, yeah, we'd hope for good news, but not expecting it there. The next question was about, with Salah out, have you thought about the outside of the front three and who will cover that, who will come in, that type of thing? Laughed, said not really a lot. I think Harvey played it against West Ham. He was there. We know with all the defensive options, we have different options in different ways. There's no one else who can play that wing like Mo, so we have to find another way and use the boys and their skills. Even at Arsenal, you can lose with Mo Salah, but we have a chance to think of that game and try that. Yeah, I think I've expressed before, I do think, personally, that Harvey Elliott is the best fit. However, you can obviously read too much. You shouldn't read too much into a press conference, as some people will say, but maybe different options. Jota has played on the right wing in the past, historically, so that could be an option, especially with Luis Diaz, which we'll come to, playing well against Newcastle. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's not a set person, especially with the cups. You maybe expect rotation. He likes to rotate anyway. I think I would have had Harvey as the beneficiary, if that's the right word, of Mo Salah being away. But yeah, that is honestly what I expect. Maybe now a bit of rotation there, which we'll come to rotation later because he talked about that. He was then asked about Owen Beck. He said, yeah, how he's been in loan spell. Good. We're pretty positive about Owen, but then he did have 2 difficult loan spells. Surprised, but that's sometimes how it works out with young boys. And Famalicão, I think it was pronounced in Portugal, was one. Newport didn't quite work out at either. It makes sense. It's a boy we like, and he's available for us. Now, I think there's a couple of things to this. Joe Gomez is the only senior option at left back, and he's not a natural left back, even though he's more than accomplished, as we see. So there's going to be cover, which then means you look and thought in the squad, the youngsters that have played in the Europa are Luke Chambers and Callum Scanlon. And sometimes Scanlon's been used as a higher, hasn't he, almost the left side midfield, just to give him those minutes, so to speak. They've done okay. There's a lot of people in Liverpool are saying these 2 kids have got a high ceiling. There's no 2 ways about it. They're excited for their potential. But in terms of readiness for football right now, Owen Beck's ahead, isn't he? He's been doing quite well. Dundee fans are a big praise of his, and people are going to be shouting about, well, we signed someone and all that. I get that, but let's just take what we've got here right now. It would be no surprise, in all honesty, because as soon as Owen Beck plays a minute for Liverpool, so he's got to be registered for Liverpool, he cannot go elsewhere unless he goes back to Dundee, because it's the 2-3 clubs in a season rule. So I suspect Owen Beck will see minutes personally, which I'm jumping ahead, I know, but against Arsenal. What I suspect that means is, as a lot of people are intimating, it would be zero surprise, the knock-on effects, to see Luke Chambers or Callum Scanlon go out on loan to get some experience. That would not surprise me at all. I know Luke Chambers had minutes at Kilmarnock previously and did really well there, but it's still a big jump up to Liverpool. So the thinking in terms of readiness for right now is in who can cover Joe Gomez until Robbo's back. That's why Owen Beck's there, and I well suspect he'll get minutes in this Arsenal game. So then he was asked about, rotation, will this help people and get other people involved? He was quite honest about this, and I thought a good answer. I don't know exactly, but we rotated a lot in the first part of the season. We weren't particularly brave or anything. We just did it because we thought it was the right thing to do and the boys can do it. I think that's the main reason why there's been that impact from the bench, and it is what it is so far. It only happens, though, because they all have rhythm. It's very rare if you've not played for 5 or 6 weeks, you can show, the best. And if the Arsenal game is the game to rotate, I'm unsure if it's the opportunity to do so. We can line up a team 100%, and if that looks like rotation, we'll have to see. You could say no need for rotation then, say, okay, we have another game, but think about that when the game's over. It's both important, and we want to win these games to go to the final and next round, but it's the more tricky with the draw we've got. This is a key one for me, and you will all have your opinions on the lineup, the rotation element, and they're not right or wrong for me. It's an opinion. You can make a case for every single one. You can make the case to say, we had a big gap. We had Boxing Day, New Year's, and this. We've lost a few key players. We should be going strong. It's a cup, it's a pot. You can make that case. Only a fool would say different. Only a fool would also ignore the case of, as Jurgen's talked about, we've had a lot of games in December. We've picked up a lot of injuries. I know I'm sounding like Cilla Black a bit here. I get that. But there's that element. And now is the chance. I know there's, even with the break coming up, just to give him a bit of space. And a lot of injuries have been being picked up recently, haven't they? The strains, muscle knocks. You had Grav with fatigue recently. You've got Szoboszlai now with the hammy. Jota and with people out, there's a risk there. So not going as strong. I also can make the case for send largely the kids. Send the two ladies from the canteen. Give Pep Linders in a trek or tea. I understand that in element of we're into the semi-final. We got maybe bigger fish to fry. We're top of that. I can make the case. One of those you will agree with. The other two you could be shouting or doing whatever. But only a fool will say you can't make the case for all three. And I'll come to later on what I believe it will be. But yeah, Jurgen's going to make the call, which is all that matters ultimately. And then he was asked about January. Is it more difficult, with the competition, the players you lost compared to December? He said, we had the most busy month you can imagine in December, and then some don't play that often in January, the other teams. In the semi-finals, though, we'll come into it with proper rhythm. We got if we had the rematch against Arsenal, that's just not helpful. That's how it would be, and it would just kill that window break. For us, January is a normal month, which is busy, but not crazy busy like December, where we had 5 games in 13 days. That just makes no sense. I think that rhythm helps, but we'll have to see that. Yeah, I think I get all that. It probably gives a bit of an inkling into what he's thinking. He knows December, when it was mental, and the knock-on effects and the injuries we've had from that. Also, it will sway probably his thinking a little bit. And people might think that, does that lead to a halfway house for the lineup? Not. We'll come to that later in my thoughts. But you will all have your opinions on that again. And the final question, a good one from James Pearce at the end, was around, I thought someone was going to miss this, but he jumped in there. The Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, are they back as cover for you? Said, Nat, we have to see and consider our own situation. He'll definitely be with us till the end of the month. We think highly of both. Nat could say, he didn't work out 100% at Celtic, but that doesn't say anything about his quality for us. Nat will train with us and we'll see how that develops. Reece, we have to talk to him and the boy. I know how I would have expected him to play in Scotland, but he didn't. So I'll have to talk to the boy and see about that and the outcome. 2 distinct ones. I think it's just rotation for Reece Williams. They'll have that chat, as it were. He said he's not, but it'll be straight in, straight out. This isn't diminish the player. There's just no future for Reece Williams at Liverpool. Is the long term. If you're not playing out, it's never going to happen. Qantas ahead. It makes sense for him to look to get out, get to a team where he's going to play. For Liverpool, for the transfer value, for him to get playing and progress his career wherever that will be. Nat, I feel so sorry for you. I had to go at Celtic. It's just not worked out. Celtic fans are quite distinct on that, aren't they? Unfortunately. Liverpool are being selfish, but I understand it. And I do feel for Nat in this scenario. They're saying, we'll keep you to the end of the window, whatever, i.e. hoping we don't get another injury and then we'll let you go. We're going to try to avoid playing you. However, this is the key thing to remember. If there are knocks and Nat does have to play a minute, that's it. You can remember there are 2 clubs in a season for a player, so he's either going to be at Liverpool and Celtic. Celtic ain't taking him back, so he's going to stay here. If he does stay here as well, for whatever reason, it's as a body. If everything goes the way it does for Jurgen Klopp, it sounds harsh, but it's true. He doesn't want Nat Phillips to play a minute. People have got an affection. I understand that for Nat Phillips. This isn't diminishing him anyway, but we don't want him to play a minute because of the other players. It's just a fact. It's just the way it is. It's an unfortunate situation and people will jump on this, but we'll have to see. And that's the bit we've got, that it will be the end of the window. We will find out what happens with Nat. So as we normally do, on to the last game, and what a last game this was, by the way, the Newcastle game. Are you not entertained? 4-2, Salah double, Gakpo, Jones. He'd had everything, didn't he? Big decisions, Anthony Taylor playing his part as well, which you'll have opinions on, I'm sure, at the same time. But as the phrase came, and it seems to be a phrase everywhere, so I'm kind of stealing it or going with it, it was a statement performance, wasn't it? The XG was 7.5 roughly. We had 34 shots. All the stats are just one big upward horny graph, aren't they? Simple as that. You think about who played well. Luis Diaz came back to form in that. Like the old Luis Diaz, he was fighting people off, holding them off. He won the penalty. He was dribbling through, playing a brilliant ball to Darwin, the pre-assist, if you want to call it that. Brilliant. Mo Salah, I'm not even going to talk about him because I won't get the words right. Just a walking, talking demigod. That's all I'm going to say. Darwin, it was everything Darwin Núñez, wasn't it? The first goal, the layoff, in the build-up, the assist, they were unbelievable. Just his link players pressing, brilliant. The missed chances. It was just a Darwin Núñez performance, wasn't it? It had everything. He was involved in everything, but it's hard not just to love the man, isn't it, realistically? Some will be jumping on this saying I don't, but I do. There you go. But he's got his faults, but the things he does, it's just a bit mental, and we love him. Cody Gakpo getting in the goals again, which is good to see. It was a right scuffle, wasn't it? And almost a miss-hit, but seems to just pop up at times in the right place. And he was good on the back of his assist against Burnley, so that's positive. Curtis Jones, unreal. We say the first name on the midfield team sheet there, when everyone's fit. And people would argue about Szoboszlai, but he's dropped off, and the injury's not going to help now either as well. But maybe it's a chance for him to rest. I don't know. But so much, and if you go through the team, so many impresses there really were. Joe Gomez as well. We shouldn't diminish him. Trent, even not one of his best, but still brilliant at times. Probably the only sort of negative, I think you'd say, is the goals were sloppy, weren't they? It's just sloppy defending at times, especially in the set piece. They all just went to sleep. You could see Jurgen Klopp I was at the game fuming, and quite rightly, when it goes 3-2, like, how have we got to this? But we should talk about playing their way in and out. I think it's more about rotation. There's no one who looked and said, oh, they didn't play well, particularly against Newcastle. I think everyone played well. Some obviously was unbelievable, but some were very, very good. Some were good. There was no one who went, oh, we're winning our. On the other hand, it's the FA Cup. I think that plays a part. So when we talk about playing their way in and out, I don't think anyone played their way out. It's just the nature of what's coming up. And then we'll keep this bit short because we talked about them before, the Arsenal threats that they might bring. I mean, it's deja vu, isn't it? I think the biggest threat for them is they're not in the Carabao, and you could argue they've got bigger fish to fry and all that, but they've had a bit of and they're a wounded animal. They are a wounded animal. They've lost a few. I mean, they got beat away at Fulham. They got beat at home at West Ham. Arsenal will be looking, thinking this Liverpool's a chance to put it right, so to speak. So I'm expecting quite a strong lineup for them. Maybe not quite, but strong. And I do mean that sincerely. I mean, we know what they bring. Saka, apparently the third most fouled player in the Premier League. Maybe you should introduce yourself to Mo Salah. Saka. We'll say no more about that. But he will bring goals. Assist potentially. Martinelli's been stop-start, but we know what he brings. We know their threats, don't we? We know that Jesus likes a goal against us in that regard as well. We also know that hopefully there'll be no switching off at set pieces like when Gabriel got that opener. So they got threat. Odegaard. You know Arsenal. We're not sort of going anything informative. You know they can wobble. But I think they'll be bang up for this. I really do. I think they'll be looking to sort of go into that break with a statement that way. Just personally, so they are a real threat in this one. Which maybe brings to the key point, the formation and lineup for this one. Now, I think changes. I think a halfway house, as in kids, first teamers, and you'll have your debate over second string. So let's get to it. I think it'll be Kelleher Nets. I think at right back, Connor Bradley. And at centre-back, Jarell Quansah. Now, this is the key too, because I'm saying this. I don't want to see Trent, and I don't want to see Virgil even travel for this. That would be me personally. I would be astonished if they didn't. I would, wouldn't be surprised if Jurgen put them in, but that would be me. Save them for the Carabao. Just give them a bit of a rest. And Virgil's played pretty much all the games, hasn't he? Trent's had a knock early doors as well. Let's not be silly. Also, with the lack of defensive options, Owen Beck would start at left back, but Gomez is then on the bench to cover or just give him a bit of a run. Maybe you could take him a few minutes at left back. But I would honestly have Bradley, Quansah, Beck. I would start Konate. Now, someone's going to be screaming, saying, well, Konate can't play games regularly. We know that. I'm not disagreeing that. There's also then an option if you wish, you could put Joe Gomez on at centre-back. And Konate, He's got a bit of a, but that's just me personally. Doesn't mean it's right. Midfield, this is hard, this, isn't it? I do think McAllister will play. I think he'll start just because obviously he came on the bench the other night and you probably want to build him into some rhythm. So I think McAllister will play the 6. I think Grav plays. Now, whether it's left or right is debatable. But personally, I think it'll be Grav left, Harvey Elliott right midfield. That's what I think people will be shouting about up front and all that, but that's my personal opinion. The forward line. I could be wrong with this. There's no surprise. It's hard to pick this, isn't it? I think Jota might start on the right. Not what I'd do, but I'd just get that feeling. In the middle, Darwin. And on the left-hand side, Gakpo. Luis Diaz has started a lot recently. And honestly, and with that forward line, even it's not said with confidence because we've talked about those 3 schools of thought. You could disagree with it wildly. I'm not saying any of these with confidence as we normally do for the league game. It's just the nature of what's coming up. And you will, as we said before, you'll all have your own thoughts process on that. Score. No one wants a draw because a replay is disaster for Arsenal. A replay is a disaster, as Jurgen was quite clear, for us. He will bring 5 subs on. This will be about managing the minutes ahead of Fulham, where I think it will be absolutely his strongest lineup he thinks or can muster, whatever. So score. I don't like doing this, but I want to go with my honest head rather than my heart. Because with heart, we win every time. I think a 2-1 defeat. And I think Diogo Jota to score. Now, Foreign shouts at me. I don't want that to be right. Let's not be stupid here, but that's just what I'm getting towards. I just think Arsenal are a wounded animal, like I said in this. So that's what I'm steering towards. I think my head is telling me different from my heart, and it'll be a 2-1 defeat with a Jota goal. Hope I'm wrong. I'd love us to beat them and go on to the next stage of the cup. Just to be clear, a pot's a pot for me, so I don't just want to throw this. And I get there's a fear of obviously the Carabao semi, that's closer to Wembley, and the league where we are, and the Europa and Dublin, and I get all that. But a pot is still a pot. That is my personal thinking. So there's a rotation. I won't just play on our strongest team, but I still want us to win. However, I do not think that will be the case. But Sunday will tell. You will all have your thoughts on this. You will be either agreeing, screaming wildly, or meh at the whole thing. Who knows? But for the first time in ladies and gents in 2024, that was post-conference presser for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.